On my way to holiday in Italy in August 1914, I read that Germany had declared war on Russia.
Diaghilev immediately set about trying to reunite the company.
But until their arrival, there was nothing we could do, so he took me to Florence.
Suddenly, all the finest museums in the world were open to me. Diaghilev's knowledge was inexhaustible, but he never traveled without a guidebook and would always stop to open it and say, "Let's see what Herr Baedeker had to say about this." I became more and more interested in the 12th century religious painting, and in particular the figure of Christ, which I longed to translate into movement. One day, as we were in the Uffizi, looking at Filippo Lippi's Madonna and Child, Diaghilev said to me, "Do you think you could compose a ballet?" "No," I said, "I'm sure I never could." But turning round, I suddenly saw the Annunciation by Simone Martini in the same room, and I said, "Yes, I think I can create a ballet, not one but 100 ballets." So we began to look for subjects in the many primitive Italian pictures of Christ. And one day, as we were approaching the monastery of Monte Oliveto Maggiore, in all the beauty of a Tuscany sunset, Diaghilev suggested that we take just the Annunciation, the Adoration of the Wise Men, and the Garden of Gethsemane with no music except Russian Orthodox chants sung in the interval. So we obviously needed a system that was independent of music to notate the dancer's movement. In my notebooks of that production, I began to make primitive kind of observation on this subject. We called the work liturgy. Our next engagement was in America. And of course this meant going by sea, which Diaghilev hated, as an old peasant once told him that he would die over water. It was very foggy as we neared New York harbor, and suddenly there was a great noise of sirens. Diaghilev seized his life belt, which he always kept near him, and rushed on deck, suspecting a collision. But in fact we were merely greeting the Statue of Liberty. This was my first view of New York, and I was captivated. I had never before seen buildings like this, tall and slim, towering into the sky. Our season ended at the end of April, and most of the company were returning to Europe aboard the Giuseppe Verdi, which carried ammunition and horses. The submarine scare was at its height. So you can well imagine that the night we approached Spain, none of us could have any sleep. And Diaghilev refused even to take off his beaver coat. But we were soon on shore, and it was in Madrid that I first got to know a remarkable little Spaniard called Manuel de Falla. Some years later, he composed Love, the Magician, and in the film I played the heroine's dead lover who returns to haunt her.